Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
My name is James.
I reckon today we may as well put it out there. This has been the shortest Planet FPL podcast episode in history.
Because, I definitely think it won't be, mate.
You sound like you're hanging, mate, and I'm not feeling any better.
I'm not going to lie to you.
We're calling it in. That's it, done. Nah, tell me about it.
Went out on Saturday, and it's the first time I've been out since COVID hit. Been in the pub, and I was in pubs, and there are gaps in my memory of what happened to that day. I know it started at 3 p.m.
Yep.
And I know that I got home at 4:45.
Okay.
In the morning.
12 hours.
Obviously not 45 minutes later.
No. 12 hours is a decent bender. Did you eat?
I know that I ended up in a McDonald's.
Okay.
Don't know what I ate in McDonald's.
Okay.
No recollection. I remember being in McDonald's. I think I left the phone charger in McDonald's, but I got my phone. I don't know how I come home with everything.
Well, you didn't come home with your phone charger though, did you?
I did the deadline stream yesterday, and I could barely read the questions on the screen.
Oh, mate.
Such a mess. I still feel hungover now.
Wow. So
that's what happens when you don't drink for 14 months. You forget what to do. It didn't help. My mate decided, we'll start with Peronis at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I knew it was going to go downhill quickly.
Yeah. You should have got on the Fosters first.
Probably.
So it seems very appropriate, James, that in a season so heavily defined by COVID, I missed the deadline because of COVID. So on Friday I had my jab, right? This is my story of the weekend. So Friday I had my jab at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm thinking, do you know what? I'm feeling all right here. This is not too bad. 2 o'clock in the morning, Friday night, I was like, this is shit. I was shivering,
I told you it hits
shaking.
you at night. That's exactly what I had.
I was like, fuck, this is horrible. Tossing, turning, couldn't sleep at all. So ended up spending basically all of Saturday in bed. I didn't get out of bed. I went down to get some breakfast in the morning, came back, went out for about an hour with the kids to the shops, but really shouldn't have bothered. Should have just sent the missus, came back fine. That she went out on Saturday night. So I was at home alone. Kids were asleep by 8:30. I was sleeping. Again, all of Saturday night, shivering, sweating. Mrs. came home at midnight and she was like, you're not well. I was like, I'm feeling rough, mate. Like a cold towel on my head. Didn't sleep. So got up at 11:30 on Sunday morning. And I was like, what day of the week is it? And what time is it? She's like, 11:30. I was like, where's the morning gone, bro? I've missed half a day already. She's like, nah, it's all right. I go, cool. Had a shower, stripped the beds because I was like, this is fucking, sheets need changing the lot. And so went downstairs, had a bite to eat, came back upstairs, and it was about coming up to 1:15. I thought, let me jump on your deadline stream. But it wasn't live, right? It went all the way to 5. It was like 1:25. I was like, this is funny. James is not live yet. I thought you'd at least put the stream live, even if you hadn't hit go live yet. So I'm lying there, sitting in bed, waiting for your deadline stream to go on. What happened? I fell asleep the night, waiting for your deadline stream. I was literally lying there. I watched a bit of Andy at Let's Talk FPL because he'd gone on.
At least you didn't fall asleep while watching me. That'd have been worse.
Yeah. So I thought, this is weird. James is not on anyway. Let me just relax for a bit. And bang, within 5 minutes, I knocked out again. I was asleep. And next thing you know, my wife wakes me up at 2:45. And I was like, oh, shit. Where am I again? I was like, oh, fuck, of all the things, I've missed the deadline again. And again yesterday, I almost didn't watch the game because I felt like I just wanted to sleep it out. But I did obviously watch West Ham in the afternoon.
What transfer were you going to make?
I would have sold Bruno. And obviously he didn't play. I was looking at Kai Havertz, to be honest with you.
I'm just looking at your team, you cheeky bastard. You had the armband on Bruno, Vice on Kane. You did.
Yeah. But having said that, had I changed my team, I would have made two moves. Bruno gone, and I would have bought in Kai Havertz, and I'd have sold Vidra for Bamford or Antonio. And I couldn't take probably Antonio, who didn't. So it wouldn't have made much difference. But I might have moved the armband to Mane.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think you would have.
So it didn't make much difference in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it just felt like, in a year dominated by COVID, on the last game week of the season, COVID's the thing that's cocked me up. This AstraZeneca, mate, it messed me up.
Remember, kids, make sure you take your vaccination.
Yeah.
You're not exactly selling it to people, Suj. I didn't have it as bad as that, but the first night I had it, as I said to you, I was the same, shivery and stuff. The next morning I was fine.
Yeah, it's. I feel all right now, but I'm just getting my strength back.
Nothing tasted right for about 48 hours.
And that's still the same for you after that bender on Saturday as well.
I've got a taste in my mouth and I don't know what it is. I'm still there. I think it's Jaeger. I think. That shit put you off drinking ever again, mate. I was the same like watching Spurs yesterday. It was like, I watched Spurs a lot under Mourinho. It was like, I'm there, but I'm not there. I don't feel a part of it. Well, yesterday was the opposite. There was a decent game going on in front of my eyes, but I was struggling. There was no dancing around the room or anything when we scored.
Ended up being a reasonable game week for me, 57 points. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm finishing the season outside the top half a million. So it makes no difference whatsoever, really, to be honest with you, in the grand scheme of things.
What was your final rank?
My final rank, 517,000. Ironically, James, though, no, I don't know if it's ironic is the right word to use. I want to congratulate myself on my highest ever points total in FPL. Well, I beat my last season's score by 15 points. Last season, I was 131k. This season, I am 517k. A lot of people bemoaning that they haven't finished particularly well. Look at it in the context of I've scored more points and I'm 400,000 places worse off. I saw our Aston Villa, ex-Aston Villa correspondent, shout out to Adam Hopcroft, talking about finishing 43k and how it was his worst ever finish. I was like, blood, remember this, bro. This game has gotten 20 times harder since 3 years ago. So you finishing 43k now is actually better than you finishing 5k or 10k 2 or 3 years ago, mate. It just take a step back for a second, because honestly, the game is way harder. So I'm happy that I got my highest ever points total.
I also did the same highest ever points total, but it's worth saying.
Oh, well done.
With, I finished 30th overall. It's worth saying that obviously
30th?
This year. Yeah, I finished 30th.
You're talking about Sky?
Yeah, obviously, fuck FPL. This year, with more doubles and blanks, etc., it was always liable that you're going to need more points, in fairness. Andy Martin correctly pointed that out to me a couple of weeks ago. He's like, look, it's been more double game weeks and stuff. Your points total should be higher. I don't disagree with that at all. But there's also been the blanks to manoeuvre. But I think that's why. I mean, what did the winner finish on overall? Like 2,700 points or something? Something fucking absurd, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our mini league winner, just to give a shout out to Dieter Minette, 2,600 points. It's like 300 more than me, mate. Finished 125th in the world.
The winner finished on 2,680 points, Michael Kuhn. And the guy has done incredibly well. That's over 400 points more than me.
Smashed it. No, my real overall rank was about 340k is what I finished. 343k, 289. That's my final FPL overall rank. I finished 30th in Sky Suj and I won a lot of fucking money. So I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what happened in our mini leagues for Planet FPL and what have you. You did particularly well. So well done with that.
My game week was shit, personally. I bought in Iheanacho for Calvert-Lewin. That didn't make no difference. Captain Salah, like many. Harry Kane, goal and assist. Son assist. Rafinha assist. Trent, clean sheet. It's my lot, mate, for the weekend. 49 points. Bit of a damp squib of an ending, but I had a good last week at Sky, so I don't care.
So, yeah, I mean, is there much to talk about from these games from the weekend? I feel like other than the Leicester Spurs game, most of the games went the way that we thought they would go, really.
Well, other than Villa beating Chelsea.
Oh, sorry, yeah, true. But that didn't make a difference in the outcome, which was Chelsea remaining in the top four. It's probably why I kind of disregarded the result a little bit, because it had no impact on the outcome per se.
Chelsea were trying their hardest to get a result.
Tell me about it.
Ted, rotation FPL and the Chelsea boys out there, I saw tweeting yesterday, come on you Spurs and stuff like that. Yeah, no one knows why you hate us in the first place, so it's okay, don't worry about it.
Oh dear. So let's talk about some of these games from yesterday, rattle through them, and then we can get into some questions that we may have had on the old Twitter. I don't even know if we've had many in, James.
Yeah, there's a few in, mate. I haven't looked at them, but there's a few in.
Fun. Good. Arsenal 2, Brighton 0. Pepe coming good.
Yeah, and I tipped him up on Thursday and stuff and thought he was a good last game punt. I said to you that I fancied Arsenal for a clean sheet as well. So a lot of the question I was getting on Deadline stream yesterday was -4s for goalkeepers and stuff. And I said, it's probably not worth it. But in terms of actually buying a goalkeeper for the weekend, I thought Bernd Leno was probably the right shot. I mean, he's ended with an 8-pointer there, actually, Bernd Leno. Pepe is going to be really popular game week 1 next year because of the way he's finished this season.
10 goals in the season isn't too bad of 1,600 minutes.
Well, half of them in his last 3 starts.
That's the thing.
Is the reality. So, I mean, he started this season at 8. He's finished it at 7.7 because there was some interest in him prior to the weekend. His is one where he's going to be in a roundabouts that value again. Normally, someone really breaks out at kind of the 8 million value that becomes, I don't like the word essential, but everybody kind of ends up having. This year, that's not really happened. We've had people like kind of Raheem Sterling break out of that value before. Not. I think Salah in his first year was sort of 8.5 or something, wasn't he? I want to say maybe. It's normally someone breaks out of that value. This year, it didn't really happen. I think Pepe's going to be in and around it again next year. More interesting, perhaps, will be what Aubameyang's price is. Will he be a forward again? What kind of price? What kind of price does he come in at?
Will he be at Arsenal next season, with James?
Well, does anyone want to buy him on what they've watched?
I mean, if Arsenal are going to do a rebuilding exercise here, then they might want to just consider letting him go.
Well, I've said that to you before. They're better off scrapping a lot of it and starting again. I know a lot of Arsenal fans don't like that idea of what is starting again. I think there's a lot of bad eggs in that squad that probably need getting out, and a lot of players not good enough. Pepe has never been a doubt on his talent.
No.
There's never been a doubt on it.
He's had to obviously carry the can of this stupid price tag as well, which is not his fault.
It's the final win product. I like things like what you see with the first goal yesterday, where he takes it instinctively on the right foot because he's so left-footed. Like, he does have a standing leg that he can use. I think it might be interesting next year. And also defensively, I think they might be interesting come the start of next season. I think Kieran Tierney, it's all fixture dependent, isn't it? Kieran Tierney will be interesting again at the start of next season. He's an absolute lock-up left-back, isn't he? I think those were the two that would interest me most. With Brighton, I think it's going to be a very interesting few weeks for them because I think someone's going to ask some questions about their manager. And it'd be interesting to see what happens. And it must be interesting a lot of their players as well. We've lauded them this year for being much better than what their league position suggests. But people like Dunk, Bissouma, Tariq Lamptey, when he's back available, there's going to be interesting, these sort of players. It'd be interesting to see if Brighton can continue, let's be honest, an upward curve of what they've been doing on the pitch. It'd be interesting to see if they can maintain that next season. Because I think if they keep the components of the squad together and the manager, they'll do far better. No doubt about it. And again, I think defensively, if they keep the squad together, there'll be some interesting punts from Brighton at the start of next season.
Yeah, I mean, Potter is an interesting one. He got a new contract, like literally months into
That's right.
the role. So from a paperwork kind of point of view, he's locked in. And as you mentioned, I think that the phrase of the day on Saturday with Clash of the Correspondents and Ricky was, especially if you're talking about Spurs going in for Potter, is why would he want to go to Spurs? I mean, you could use that phrase about pretty much everyone, and you did use that phrase about pretty much everyone on Clash of the Correspondents in that show. Why would he want to go to Spurs if he's just signed that new contract? I don't think there's that many other jobs that are that attractive for Potter. So I think it'd only be a snowball. So say you went and got Brendan Rodgers and then Leicester were in the market and then they went and got Potter or something like that. I think it might be a snowball effect, but I don't know if he would jump ship directly. But you don't do yourselves down. Big stadium, bigger budget probably than you have.
I'm not doing myself down. I think if the question of why, listen, I think if Tottenham go for Potter, he'll probably want to take the job because you're not often going to get offered a chance to manage a club like that. So I think he would take it if he's the choice. My understanding is Tottenham now have a short list of 2. I don't know who those 2 names are, but apparently they're both under employment.
Okay. Aston Villa 2, Chelsea 1. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea doing what they could to not get into the top four, but they did in the end.
Yeah, absolutely fuck this up. Again, I think the fans had a part to play with this at Villa Park. They made a good little atmosphere by the look of things. Chelsea had domination of the most of the game, but Villa got the first goal because Chelsea couldn't put the ball in the net. Familiar story for them. Do you know Chelsea's top league goal scorer is this season, Suj?
Chelsea's top goal scorer of the season?
In the league.
That's a very good question. I'm going to say Tammy Abraham.
Quick answer is Jorginho. 7 penalties.
Oh, yeah. Penalties. I didn't hear that, actually. Yeah.
Unbelievable. We won't be having Cesar Azpilicueta in our team first game of next season because he's going to be suspended. Chelsea are interested in Kane. I can't see Tottenham doing the business with you, as I've said previously. I'm not sure that they will buy a forward because I think the style of the play is possibly the most important thing. And if Werner could get himself onside, he'd score a lot of goals, actually, wouldn't he? His price is one to be very interesting next year. If it takes a dip, which it really should, I wonder if he'll be interesting if they have a good run of fixtures at the start of next season. I think defensively, Ben Chilwell will become, he obviously is first choice, but will solidify that, I think, next season. With a lot of these teams fitting towards next season, I guess it's dependent on what happens in the Euros, right? So, I mean, if England did get to the final, does a Ben Chilwell or a Mason Mount that they even start next season on the opening day? So,
it's true, yeah.
I always try, in years after tournaments, I generally try not to start with players who get to the knockout stages of tournaments, but that'll rule a lot of fucking players out.
Yeah,
Game week 1 next year. And I think we learned from after the last World Cup that actually, I remember Tottenham playing at Newcastle opening day, and it was like, we ain't even going to have a team on the pitch, but they all played. They all came back to training that week and they just played straight away. So perhaps we can overlook that sort of thing and worry about the lack of training prior to a game week 1. Villa, I think the big story for the summer for them will be what happens with Grealish.
Massive.
It's interesting that there's obviously so much media attention on Kane at the moment. Not a lot's been said about him, but we've had plenty of rumours that a deal might have been agreed with Manchester City months ago with Jack Grealish, possibly. But if City are going to go for Kane now, is that off the table? They're probably not going to buy Kane and Grealish, are they? Unless they were to sell one of their big hitters as well. Do you know what I mean? Get the money back for Raheem Sterling, for example, or something like that. So I think Jack Grealish probably ends up staying at Villa for another year now, possibly, unless that was already agreed and City don't go for Kane.
There's so many permutations there, James. I mean, I don't know if a deal has been done with Jack Grealish. It wouldn't surprise me if one has been done. When I look at, I mean, how much do you think that City would be paying for Jack Grealish? 70 million?
More.
You think so?
Yeah. We've got to be talking near 100 now, haven't we?
Well, if that's the situation, then I don't think Harry Kane is going to City as well. But I kind of look at it and I'm like, you're going to be spending, would you rather two 60 million pound players, a 120 million pound player, or 3 40 to 50 million pound players? When you're looking at the likes of Kane and so on, I do think that the price now, clubs are going to be thinking, do you know what? We could get 2 or 3 in and bolster the squad in a few areas rather than the one big marquee signing. So I think Jack Grealish will be leaving this summer. I really do think he will be leaving this summer. Someone's going to come up with the money, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's close to 70 to 80 rather than the 100. But let's see.
Shout out for Ollie Watkins, 168 FPL points from a starting price of 6 million at the start of the season. It's very, very decent, actually.
It's decent.
Very, very decent. He's just been very consistent all the way through. He's actually ended on more FPL points than Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And remember, Calvert-Lewin scored, I think 6 in his first 4. I know Watkins had a hat-trick against Liverpool in game week 4. But I think Watkins had only scored 6 goals or so up to the halfway point. That's very consistent. 6 million forward, 168 points. It's the sort of one in hindsight you think, we should just left it there. Yeah. Watkins, Bamford and Kane would have done fine for the season, wouldn't it?
Let's talk about Newcastle and Fulham. I mean, Newcastle did all right in the end. I mean, for a team that could be on the beach, they kept going all the way, plugging through. And Joe Willock, I mean, he's been a great asset in the last 7 or 8 weeks for anybody that decided to take a punt on him.
That win was worth £6 million to Newcastle.
£6 million. What in where they finish in the league?
Yep. It was worth £6 million. Some £2 million place in the Premier League. They jumped 3 places yesterday up to 12th. You believe Newcastle finished 12th above the likes of Wolves.
Wow.
So it's all good, isn't it? I mean, if I was a Newcastle fan, I'd probably be looking forward to next season now. If they keep that squad together, even if Bruce stays and whatnot, which I assume he ain't going to get sacked now after finishing the season quite strongly, is he?
No.
They've got a proven goal scorer in Callum Wilson. They'll be all right, won't they?
Yeah, if they start next season like they finished this season, I don't see them being a threat for relegation. I mean, they could be there or thereabouts. I think there's going to be some other clubs that are going to have a difficult time next season. So
Wilson, interestingly, better points per match than Bamford, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins. Only Vardy and Kane better. And he was good value for people at 6.5 million during the season as well. I wouldn't expect him to get a massive price hike, Callum Wilson. Maybe 7 million. Decent one for the opening day. If they've got good fixtures at the start, Callum Wilson on the pens and whatnots. They've got players who can win on penalties, people like St. Maximin, Almiron. Be interested to see what happens with Joe Willock. The news seems to be that Arsenal want to take him back. I think Joe Willock will be looking at it and going, am I going to play? Because he needs to play Premier League football now. He's done so well at Newcastle. Scored in 7 games in a row. I think he'd
not
be happy
quite. 7 in a row? I think there's gaps in there.
Yeah, there's a gap. There's a gap because he was ineligible for the game against Arsenal.
Okay, fine.
That's why there's a gap. But he himself has scored in the last 7 games that he's played.
Okay, yeah.
I think he'd be. I get the feeling he'd be quite happy to go back. Definitely that rather than sit on the bench at Arsenal. So Arsenal have a decision to make. The thing is, his value would have shot up, right? Arsenal can ask for more money if they do want to sell him now, unless there was a prior agreement on the transfer fee. He's been brilliant for anyone who's bought him.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the league, I'm more worried about Wolves next season than Newcastle. I'm more worried about Palace next season than Newcastle. I'm probably more worried about Burnley next season than Newcastle.
Southampton in that as well, if you didn't say them.
Yeah, maybe. I think so. Southampton, yes. I just think, look, Wolves and Palace both have the issue of getting a new manager. So if they get the wrong appointment, then that's going to be very difficult. Palace is an aging squad. And Burnley have struggled with goals all season. So I don't know if someone was to come in and buy Chris Wood, for example, or put in a bid for him. I mean, Burnley this season in the league scored 33 goals, mate. Take Chris Wood out of that equation, 23 goals all of a sudden. They're gonna struggle next season. So, I see all of those guys as having more trouble next season than Newcastle will. So you're right that I think that they should go into next season thinking that they can replicate what they did this season.
I don't expect a lot of transfer business from them. No. What would happen if someone came for St. Maximin, do you think? If a West Ham asked, for example?
Firstly, if I was West Ham, I'd rather go and put money up for Callum Wilson than St. Maximin because we need him more than we need St. Maximin. I think that Newcastle would consider taking it because Mike Ashley is Mike Ashley, and he's looking at his bank balance. So 40 million, 50 million for St. Maximin. I think he'd take it.
I don't think anyone will, though, because of his injury history.
Yeah, that's been an issue. Well, they'll give him a bit of slack for COVID this year that affected
That's
him.
very true. He's got a great relationship up there with the fans. And I think that's nice for Newcastle now that their fans are likely to go back, obviously, next season. There's a few players there now who they can identify with. People like St. Maximin. Almiron works his dogs. If Willock comes back, there's some players there that have a bit of an affinity and a feeling to. Joe Murphy might be a really interesting one starting next season. He's obviously been playing right wing back since they changed system in game week 30. He's likely to be reclassified as a defender, and I think there's every chance he could be a 4.5. I think it'd be interesting, possibly, starting next season if they had a good opening set of fixtures.
Leeds 3, West Brom 1. We predicted this, didn't we? Leeds were going to overrun West Brom. I could have just done with a nice cheeky clean sheet there instead of the leaky Robson Kanu goal. But
there is definitely someone out there who's lost a mini league because of that goal. Absolutely, definitely. Such a farcical shit goal that they conceded as well.
So annoying.
Bamford buyers must have been shitting themselves when they saw the team. There's quite a few had captained him and stuff, but you ended up beating the the alternatives that people were going for, i.e. like Iheanacho, Antonio and stuff. So the 6 pointers worked out for you not too badly in the end. Rafinha, Harrison, if Harrison goes back to Leeds, a few people did point out to me following last podcast that the agreement's probably in place to sign Harrison permanently. They'll shoot up in price. Bamford will shoot up in price. Dallas can be a midfielder, isn't it?
Dallas will be a midfielder. Over. It doesn't matter. You know, like, okay, take Harrison and Rafinha, push them up to 6.5 or 7. I'll still probably get one of them. Dallas, make him a 6.5 million midfielder. I'd still be tempted. Rodrigo up top, maybe. I mean, Bamford, what's he going to be? 7.5 or 8 now?
Yeah, but you wouldn't be tempted to buy Dallas as a 6.5 million midfielder if he goes back to left back. Remember, Alioski's leaving.
Well, true. So maybe he won't be reclassified. But I still think we'll be looking at Leeds for 1 or 2 at the start of next season. They'll be more expensive, but they'll still be good value.
Yeah, exciting team. They've had a brilliant first season. I think.
Yeah, well done to them. Credit.
The highest points total from a newcomer in the last 10 years or so, at least. That might be longer than that. We've had an absolutely brilliant season. I think we've enjoyed watching them. Probably bar the 2 times they played Brighton. I've probably enjoyed them nearly every time I've watched them. Really good side. I think they could do better next year as well. I think if you were to look now and say, right, other than kind of West Ham, Leicester have been in the top 6 this year. If there was to be another new name next year, it's them, isn't it? It's them. With Llorente coming in at centre-back, I feel they've improved defensively. I think Meslier is a really interesting one for the start of next season. Probably jump up to 5 million. I think he ended as the second highest scoring goalkeeper behind Martinez, I want to say. Very good option because they give away chances as well, right? He's a decent shot stopper.
He does make saves for sure.
Yeah. He's probably the one that actually stands out most for me. I think what I want to do next year, because I always fuck this, I want to buy a goalkeeper at 5 million value starting next season. That saving of that 0.5 invariably means that I end up with shit or miss the boat on Martinez. Actually, Ederson finished on more points than Meslier in the end because of the penalty save. That's impressive. 154 points for Meslier, started at 4.5. I think he's very interesting for the start of next season. I presume he'll be 5 million.
Leicester 2, Spurs 4. It was very kind, I thought, of Bale, Kane and Son to give the fans a parting gift and be in amongst the goals and assists at the end of the game. I thought they all did their bit and waved goodbye gracefully.
Strange game because we didn't play too badly. Leicester, I'm not sure why, were quite standoffish. We had a lot of the ball. They didn't put a lot of pressure on us when we had the ball. They seemed intent to stop the ball getting into the likes of Kane, Son. But with 20 minutes to go, they're winning 2-1 and the game looked dead. The only thing that was going to happen was Leicester were going to get a third on the break. And then we equalised. And from that point, I thought we were going to win just out of there because I knew they were going to have to go for it. And they weren't comfortable. Once they went for it, it was always more likely that we were going to get win out. Honestly, with 5 minutes to go, watching the game at 2-2, there was no way it was going to finish 2-2. Someone was going to win the game. And I promise you, if our former manager had been in charge, it's Leicester who would have won because we'd have probably been inviting the pressure. But we had them done over so badly on the counter-attack. In hindsight, it was the right choice to use Gareth in that period of the game when he could go and attack them and run into free space and stuff. Kane. Where's he going to be?
So the Saturday afternoon, the whole day basically that I managed to spend in bed, I was accompanied by YouTube and I decided to watch all of the interview with Gary Neville.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so I was surprised with how open he was about everything, and even comments about how De Bruyne's going to put balls on on a plate for him and stuff. It's almost like that's pushing the edges of what you can and can't say about when you're playing for one club. What you say about another club, there can be a line. I honestly think he'll end up at Man City. I think he's going to end up at Man City. Looking at it and the way it's going, I think he's going to end up at Man City. What he wants is to be at City.
What price is he?
In FPL or as
in
football?
in FPL next year as Man City forward? What price is he?
12.5 million.
I think it's 13, isn't it?
What's the most expensive player that's been in FPL ever?
Wasn't I could have this wrong? Wasn't Van Persie 14? I want to say maybe
14 million at United.
I think so. When he went there, I think so.
14 million. I think 12.5, 13. Either way, he's going to be the most expensive player in FPL. So if that's 13 million, then it's 13 million. But I don't. Yeah, Kane at City. We'll all start with him. It's no different to assuming obviously he's injury free and he has a decent enough Euros and so on. It's no different to if Messi joined the Premier League. We'd all start with him. There's no doubt in my mind if Harry Kane's at Man City, he'll be in my team game week 1.
I can't argue that. Yeah. I can't argue. I could only think if it gets silly, like 14 and stuff. If it's 13 at City, I mean, you'd start with him, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what will happen captaincy-wise next year, if that's the case. Because you'll be so popular the majority of weeks, won't he?
Yeah. It's putting the best player in the league almost. Like, okay, you can always argue Kevin De Bruyne's better than Kane or whatever. You're arguing stupid semantics about midfielders and forwards. He's up there. And he's going to the best team that create the most chances. It's just, it's obvious. It really is.
If Son stays, and I think it's a strong possibility that Son will go as well, he's got to be in for a big price jump as well, isn't he? 228 FPL points this season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think 11 and a half is where Sonny should be at. Do you think he should be in there like Bruno level and stuff? Bruno this year was 10 and a half underpriced, right? We know Bruno came in too cheap. I mean, highest point scorer in the game. So Bruno will be in at 12 and a half, 13 as well. As the highest point scorer of the season, Kane and Bruno both being 13 next season makes sense. Salah, 12 and a half. Mane, I think, will come down to 12, 11 and a half. And then you've got the likes of Son, 11 and a half, something along those lines, I think. I think if he's still at Spurs and he's that much money and Kane's gone, he's too expensive for me.
I agree with that, by the way. Interesting fitting all these guys in, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, very much so. What do you make of Leicester? I mean, look, they won a trophy. They've won more trophies in the last 5-6 years than your club, my club, and a bunch of others put together. So can't really complain. They're putting silverware in the cabinet, but it's the second year in a row they've blown top 4.
Well, if it was anyone else, be getting Butler's tags, wouldn't they? I mean, if it was my team, fucking hell, it'd be all the rage. And I think because obviously there's something very likable about Leicester. No one particularly wants to go down that route. 100%, they blew this, though. They blew this, really, the Southampton game and then the Newcastle game. To not have put Southampton away playing against 10 men, need a whole game, plus with the psychological element to that fixture. Then the performance against Newcastle was shocking. They left themselves with shit to do, right? I mean, they even got the bonus of Man United putting out a weakened team against them. It wasn't an excuse not to do the job. And we were there for the taking. I don't know how they've gone and lost that game from there because, as I said, honestly, at 2-1, we weren't in it.
No.
It didn't really look like they were going to score again, but the game was dead. And we scored a goal from a set piece. Kasper Schmeichel's, I don't know what he's done now. He's ended up punching the ball backwards. And as I said, from there, it didn't surprise that we went on and won it with the attacking players we had on the pitch. And they run out of ideas a little bit, Leicester. They'll come back.
Oh, no doubt about it. They got quality. They just got to keep an eye on their players and make sure
they've got good players, but around. That's part of the point. Like, and Diddy,
they're not in Champions League now.
They weren't helped yesterday by losing Fofana in the first half as well. So I mean that meant and Diddy went back to centre back, so it did become very makeshift for them. And Diddy finished the game at centre forward as well, basically just throwing everything at it. It's difficult to think that they've had 2 seasons like this, not got in the Champions League, that it can get better than that next season. I think they're going to possibly struggle to hit those heights again, and they have to ask themselves, why has this happened 2 years in a row?
Yeah,
because 2 years in a row they've been in a position where everyone will go. I mean, we said 2 months ago we thought there was a good chance to finish second.
Yeah,
Pip United. So they've only got themselves to blame. They have had injury problems all season, like a number of other teams, but they'd coped with it. Something psychologically at the end there has been a problem, but then they won the FA Cup final. Their son would be back keeping hold of their best players. I think a few now are going to go, that's 2 years. I can see like Ndidi going, for example, or Tielemans.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Liverpool 2, Palace 0. I mean, it's a tame ending for Palace, but interesting stuff that you mentioned in terms of Roy Hodgson never had him in the relegation zone ever and that kind of thing. So, yeah, totally decent season for Palace. I get that. And Liverpool have had a really good end to the season as well. Pretty business as usual, 2-0 comfortable win.
Yep, although if Andros Townsend has scored with the chance he had early in the game, which was a brilliant through ball by Mohamed Salah, then they would have shit themselves a bit, considering they've lost some games against similar opposition 1-0 at home this season. Once they went in front, it was never really in doubt and was quite straightforward for them as well. I mean, they would benefit, I think, as well by Benteke's absence. Could have posed them a different challenge and a different threat in that game. That didn't happen. You have to give them credit. I think they've won 8 and drawn 2 of the last 10. So they've finished strongly. They had a good fixture list on paper at the end, but you've still got to go and do the business on paper, and they've done it. I find it interesting that Trent finished the season at 7.8, having started the season at 7.5. Robertson finished at 7.3, having started at 7. And it would probably say their totals aren't what we expected from the season. They've got 161 and 160 points respectively, which is decent. Don't get me wrong.
But I think a 7.5 million or 7.3 million midfielder and they gave you 160 points or striker, you'd be happy with that.
The problem was there was such a long period in there of nothing. I mean, Trent's got half his points in the last 8-9 game weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's absolutely gone off big time. Be interesting to see because they've had the investment towards the end of the season where they've been popular, partly because of the fixtures as well. I wonder if in theory, they should probably drop in price. But I'm a little worried that makes them a little too popular next year. But then, as we've already spoken about, the fitting in of Kane at City, Sons, Fernandes, that's why I think one of my big mistakes of the season was having too much faith in them, right? It should have been a bought the moment Van Dijk got injured, could see the problem. Trent's finished on, in the end, 10 attacking returns. We shouldn't sniff at it. It's quite decent. Andrew Robertson's finished on 9 attacking returns. They're still doing the business. It just wasn't what we expected it to be. There's definitely a return to form for them. I think a lot of these players are going to benefit from a calmed summer, but then so many of them are going to the Euros. We don't know the impact of what it'll be like for Van Dijk when he comes back. Presumably he's going to be fit for the start of the new season. Does he get a discounted price down to sort of 6 million or so because he's been injured this year? That would make him very interesting, wouldn't it? I think.
I will be having a Liverpool defender at the start of next season. There's no doubt about it, and there's every chance I could have 2.
Probably if you can, if it's affordable.
It's all down to price, Jez. It's all down to price. I have faith in Liverpool again.
I don't think Nat Phillips or Reece Williams will be either of them, by the way.
I don't think so either. Mane, do you think he'll have a price drop? He started the season at 12. He's not had the best season. I mean, 11 goals and 11 assists, though. 176 points is still decent, right? Anywhere close to 200 points is good.
He's only missed 3 games this season, 176 points, 22 attacking returns, but he's miles behind Son, for example. So he's got to, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah.
I think he could come down to as low as sort of 10.5-ish, actually.
Wow, he's well worth a look at 10.5.
Well, that's what they need to do, is make these players who've not been interesting for the majority of people this season and make them interesting again. And I think that's how you do it with Sadio Mane. He's dropping back down. The reality is, if Mane and Salah are within $1 million of each other, I think people are just going to buy Salah. That's what's ended up happening. So I could see him having quite a bit of a drop. Perhaps that's probably a bit too far. He started at 12 million this year. He's finished at 11.8. So I think 11 million maybe. 10.5, you'd be very interested, wouldn't you?
10.5, assuming he's fit and the rest of the Liverpool team are fit, I'd be more than interested. He'd be pretty much almost a lock in my team.
And Jota's price would be interesting because presumably that gets quite a bit of a jump, doesn't it?
It should do. He'll be well north of 8.5, 9 million in my opinion, Jota next season. So Man City 5, Everton 0. Another thing that I spent time watching on YouTube, I don't know why, I spent the whole 15 minutes. It was longer. I think it might have even been a 20-minute video of the trophy lifting ceremony and stuff. I mean, City are a club that they do things in style, don't they, in terms of just the whole presentation of everything. The way they got the backroom staff out and the squad and the players. Yes, a good show put on by City, and they did it for their fans. They probably couldn't have scripted this better, could they? 5-0, home win, Aguero coming off at the end with 2 goals, Foden on the score sheet, De Bruyne with a goal and an assist. It was everything they should have wanted.
10-pointer for Aguero. Well done to the captainers out there who went for him. They must have. I know there was plenty who did. I wasn't keen on it for exactly that. Like, is he even going to start? And there's plenty of times he has come on this season, hasn't done the business, but he did yesterday. And the headed goal was so good.
Class. Both goals were good, well taken, but the header, it didn't feel like a consolation goal that he's picked up at the end. It was a proper goal. It felt like, you know what, he's really put that
I take it you saw Guardiola's interview.
No, I haven't yet.
Have you not seen it? You have to see it. I mean, cries his fucking eyes out, Guardiola, talking about Aguero.
Does he?
Yeah, you have to
I'm going to watch that. I saw him at in the ceremony. But yeah, I mean, Aguero, obviously they do love the guy.
Yes, he's going to Barca. Just on that, I don't know why Barcelona letting Luis Suarez go 12 months ago and now getting Aguero in now. Same age, but there you go. Atletico will be laughing at them. City this year. Interesting.
Through their medals as well.
John Stones, 5.8 points per match. Made a big difference. Stones, Diaz are going to have jumps in price next year, aren't they? I think.
Yep.
Kyle Walker's a strange one. You look at that, 91 points for Kyle Walker this season. It's a bit mad, isn't it? I don't even think he scored at Sheffield United, didn't he? 2 attacking returns all season. He's obviously been in and out the team a lot as well. You look through his minutes, quite sketchy. He's only played sort of half the games, actually. Gundogan will obviously get a massive rise in price. How big do you think that goes?
Dundog 6, probably 7.5. I don't think it will go up to the 8s and 9s.
Foden?
7.5.
Foden's the one everyone wants.
Foden
day next year.
8.5, 9.
Do you think it go that much?
Yeah, I don't. I still maybe 7.5, 8. I still don't see Phil Foden as a regular. Well, is there such a thing as a regular starter at Manchester City? Probably not. But I still don't see him starting more than, say, 25, 28 games next season out of the 38. So I think with that taken into consideration, and especially if City are buying the likes of Harry Kane, then there's one less starting spot because, you know, he's pretty much going to play every single game. I think
Raheem Sterling
7.5, 8.
Raheem Sterling would be another one have a massive drop, wouldn't he?
Yes.
I think
ironically,
he could even come down to single figures, I think, possibly.
If he would have to come down to single figures to be a consideration for me.
Mahrez, I think, will stay at similar price-ish, sort of 8.5-ish or so. I think Foden won't jump massively. I think his first number will start with a 7. And I think he'll be very popular for next season. Sterling, I think, will drop down to about 10. I think he'll still stay quite high because of the historical performance. Gundogan, I think first number will probably start with a 7 as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Gundogan's 6.5 or so. And the reason I say that is actually since the end of that brilliant run, which kind of ended with the double game week in 27, then he got the 2 attacking returns since then and has been playing in a deeper role again. Yeah. So I'm not convinced. I mean, if Gundogan's 7.5, I don't think you're buying him first day of next season, actually. Unless he was to play in that similar role that he did in the winter period.
The thing you get with teams like City and Liverpool is there's so many assets that you do want. When you get down to 6th, 7th on the list in terms of order of priority, you have to make them cheap. Otherwise, no one's going to go for them, the likes of Jota and what have you. Because everybody, like, say Kane was at City, like De Bruyne straight away is top of the City list. Kane, top of the City list. Foden, high up there. Defensive assets, Diaz, Stones. You want all of these guys before you want a Gundogan. So to make him attractive, they've got to keep him cheap. Otherwise, you'll just get the other players, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think you're right there with Gundogan.
Everton 10th. They were always in the running for top 4. Never out of it because they always had games in hand on people. They were never out of it. 10th. It's a bad finish for them in the end, actually. They got absolutely smashed to pieces, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, draw, loss, win, loss. So they lost 2 of the last 4 and drew 1. So 4 points from the final 12 did them in the end.
As I said in the week, I think stay on the path of Ancelotti, but I'm not convinced that they're going to do the work in the summer that they want to do to kind of catch up. I mean, like if you said to me right now, who finishes higher next year, Everton or Leeds? I'll tell you probably Leeds.
Who finished higher this season? Leeds. So I'd back you up
but I would
that.
see Leeds more likely to push on again. Actually, I think at the moment than Everton. It's so difficult to break into that ceiling and kind of had the year like yourselves have had. It's not easy.
No. Seen it sweating. Let's talk about Sheffield United 1 and Burnley 0. I mean, from an FPL point of view, largely irrelevant game, but Sheffield United going out with a bang and at least getting some points at the end there.
Can we give a shout out to David McGoldrick for hitting 100 FPL points? Sheffield United scored 20 goals this season. McGoldrick's got 9 attacking returns. He's been all right. He might get picked up by someone else, actually. David McGoldrick, multifunctional forward, decent player. This was right at the end of the match of the day. I think I've lost interest by this point. Catching up on this game. Burnley ended up finished 17th. And I think that's always okay for Burnley, is to finish 17th. I think, like you said...
You say 17th? Yeah, 11 points clear of relegation.
Oh,
so
yeah, not in...
It's like... Yeah, they finished 17th. I mean, Burnley got 39 points, right? Which is, we always talk about 40 points to be safe. They basically did it. It just happens to be that the other teams were so much worse this year. 28 points from Fulham, not good enough. So, yeah, I think 17th is okay for Burnley.
But that's affected a lot of points totals. I mean, look at Villa at 11th. What did they finish on, Suj? 55 or something?
Aston Villa 11th for 55 points, correct?
I think that's the highest total ever for a bottom half team.
Okay.
And a lot of that is to do with the performance of the 3 teams at the bottom of the league, right? Burnley next year, the Popes, the Taylors, if they're at nice prices, are worth considering. Popes apparently out of Euros, by the way, Suj.
Ouch.
It might be that Sam Ramsdale is the one that benefits, actually. Personally, I'd prefer Sam Johnston. I don't see much of that Sheffield United team leaving. I think even Ramsdale will struggle to find a suitor. It might benefit them, though. Get a new manager in, keep the majority of the squad together. Sanderberg's the one that's getting linked with a lot of people. I've not been overly convinced by him personally. People might look at the likes of Egan, Basham, but I don't think so. I think they'll keep the majority of that squad together and they'll be towards the top of the Championship next year. I'm pretty sure they've been much better, actually, the last 3-4 weeks or so. They were good at Everton. They were a little bit unlucky at Newcastle. They won this one. They've been better. Only 1 goal conceded in the last 3. And that was to Joe Willock, who scores against everybody at the moment. Too little, too late, unfortunately, for Sheffield United. But they probably enjoy their summer looking forward. I think Heckingbottom's done all right, actually.
Because what's the news on their permanent appointment? Will Heckingbottom get it?
No, he said it won't be him. He said it won't be him. When he spoke yesterday, he seemed a little bit unconvinced what was happening. I think Sheffield United probably should have made their move by now because it's been a while. When they got battered at Leicester, they looked like they could fold like a pack of cards, didn't they? And that sort of thing might happen every week. Other than Bale's hat-trick, they've still stayed in the majority of games, haven't they? They've done all right. They've been honest all the way through. Burnley, I think it's a big summer from. I think it's a big summer from because it feels they've tried to change the way they play a little bit and they're conceding more goals. And that makes it dangerous for them because, as you alluded to earlier, they don't score enough goals. No. So you're in danger of losing more games than you should. I mean, it's a big summer for them on the quiet. I'm interested to see what happens.
Let's talk about West Ham 3, Southampton 0.
Floor is yours.
Oh, you saw the highlights, obviously. To be honest with you, it was dead. As when we went 2-0 up, that was it. Game over. There was literally no way I could see Southampton coming back into it, and we controlled the game comfortably throughout. It just felt like going through the motions for the rest of the game. I just trusted the team to do what they needed to do to get over the line. So it did start nervy. I'm not going to lie. I thought Southampton did quite well when they had the ball and they did some nice build-up play. They played well. But eventually we always just had that little bit more incisiveness in front of goal. I don't think Danny Ings had the best game and offered quite enough. And 4 hours, like I told everyone last week, buy 4 hours for 19 points in FPL. No one listens, do they? If you want more FPL advice like that, follow me on MySpace, right? Because that's where I've been. That's where I've been putting and posting all of my good FPL advice.
I really didn't know. I really didn't know what to say to that. Pablo Fornals was not a name anybody was mentioning pre-weekend.
Ah, dear. No, he's always he's a very, very good player. And if he added end product to his game in the form of goals and assists, because he is capable of more. As a good footballer that he is, as well as work rate and doing all of the nice stuff. If he added end product, he'd be a very, very good asset. And he is a really important part of this team, but he doesn't score enough goals.
Pablo Fornals gained 131 new FPL managers before the weekend. Probably all robots, by the way.
Yeah, he had a good game. I think just West Ham did well overall. The team spirit is good. It's just really important now to keep the squad together. Shout out to Soufal, because he ended the season with as many attacking returns as Andrew Robertson that you just mentioned. 9 assists this season. No goals, but there are goals coming. I think Soufal, 5 million. 4.5 next season, I'm definitely having it. 5 million.
He is not going to be 4.5, mate. Your players are all getting price bumps. I would not be surprised if Soufal's like 5.5, mate.
Then I'm not touching it. But at 5 million, I would. And at 5.5, I wouldn't. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see. And hopefully we can make Jesse Lingard's deal permanent, because that would be quite important. He was celebrating getting into Europe on the pitch with the rest of the players quite a lot. So hopefully he wants to come to Europe with us. Well, I was supposed to go back to Man United, and play Champions League.
The interesting one defensively, who might stay at a more realistic price, I think, so Bonner.
Yeah.
Who scored 3 times this season. He's always a threat at set pieces. His points per match, he's only slightly behind Soufal. I think Soufal's popularity this season will see him jump up to at least 5, quite possibly 5. I think 5.5. I think Ogbonna might stay at 5 and would probably be the more interesting one. Cresswell, I think, could even be 6. Possibly.
He'll be
4.2 points per match. Very good. Do you think Lingard will sign?
I'm nervous about it. I don't know why. Maybe because just nothing's been announced so far, and I would have liked them to do it. He's played so well recently. Other clubs sniffing around. I'll be honest with you, I'm nervous about it. I'm not sure. I'm probably erring on the side of yes, he will, but we're talking 55-45, that kind of split in my mind of whether or not he will.
Okay. Declan Rice, you think will stay?
Yeah, I'm more confident in him staying, 65-70% likely, unless we get a big money offer. Yep, and big money being north of 70 to 80 million.
Although this game was very comfortable for you, they had a couple of chances, didn't they, early on?
Oh, they did.
Minamino and Kyle Walker-Peters both had decent chances.
Yeah, they did. Kyle Walker-Peters one particularly, I thought he should have put that away. But then we had chances on the other end as well. The player that I'm interested to see next season, James, the one that we were licking our lips at how cheap he was at the start of this season in Thomas Souček. Because again, he had another chance. And yet his goals have kind of sort of dried up in the second half of the season. And obviously we had that period without Declan Rice where he was sitting deeper. But if he's 6 million or less next season, I'm still looking at Thomas Souček as a really good 4th or 5th midfielder, because he's still getting in the box on set pieces and he's still close. He nearly put a header in off a good free kick yesterday again, and he's always there or thereabouts. So Thomas Souček
smells like a 6.5 to me.
A little bit too expensive at 6.5 probably, but 6, I would say 5.5 or 6, depending on who else is in that bracket. I think worth it. Southampton were a bit flat, I was a bit more worried when Romeu came on that they might suddenly have a little bit more shape, but he took off Kyle Walker-Peters, and then it was James Ward-Prowse moved over to the right. James Ward-Prowse actually is a good player. You know what? As part of a double pivot, if you've got a player who's more defensive-minded, Calvin Phillips or Rice, whatever, James Ward-Prowse is a really good player to have alongside someone who's a defensive-minded second midfielder. Really good.
Yeah, I think most people like JWP. It's been very consistent in FPL again this season as well. I mean, we said, was he finished as like 6th, 7th highest scoring midfielder or so in the end?
Man,
Like
crazy
consistency that everybody overlooks, basically. I think there's a few players that might leave this summer. I think, as I've said many times, I mean, I think Tottenham will go and buy Danny Ings. I really do. If we're working on the assumption that Kane leaves, I really think that's who Tottenham will go and buy. I think he would come. I think Southampton would sell because eventually they always do, unfortunately. I think there's something very likable about Southampton as a club and the way they try and play, etc. But eventually the best players do go. Eventually James Ward-Prowse will probably go somewhere as well. I think if they start next season badly, they're possibly in trouble. And I mean to the extent that I think the manager might be in trouble. Because their 2021 has been absolutely unacceptable. They've had a couple of results recently in home games, sort of Palace, Fulham, which has been a bit better for them, but they've been pathetic for the majority of 2021. They were like 5th, 6th going into Christmas, mate. I think at halfway, I think they had more points than Chelsea.
Wow.
They've had a very bad 2021. And I think they need to start next season well, which they may well do, because actually fitness-wise, they'll probably be up to speed quicker than a lot of other teams come start the new season with the way they play. Probably not as many players going to the Euros, things like that might benefit them. But I think, if they started with 3 or 4 defeats, I could see Hasenhüttl will be gone, actually.
It's a shame because I think he's a good manager.
Yeah, I think everybody does. Sometimes it just needs a freshness, doesn't it?
Yeah, true. And there are jobs out there available. I mean, how do you feel Hasenhüttl came to Spurs?
I could think of a lot worse appointments.
I would agree with you as well. I mean, Poch came from there. So
if Southampton had had a good second half of the season as they did the first, he probably would have been the outstanding candidate.
Let's just wrap up with the Manchester United Wolves game. United completely rotated from top to bottom. So what you can take from that, I don't know. But I do think you're seeing with Diallo and the young kid that scored the goal, Elanga and stuff, they've got a bit of depth there at United and youth coming through. It's maybe not like United of old, but there is a little bit behind the first team there.
Trent Sabi's decent. Amad Diallo and Elanga, who scored the header, loved it. Brilliant headed goal, actually. Arrived in the box just the right time. They
when you
look
look
like
at
good
Wan-Bissaka's not old, and they've got some younger players in there. So I think United, to see their second team go and win away 2-1 at Wolves, I thought it was doing all right.
Do you think Man United can win the league next year?
Not with the current squad, no.
I agree.
No,
they haven't lost away all season.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's pretty phenomenal, actually. If they've had more consistency in home games, remember they started terribly at home, didn't they? Then they'd have been in with a shot of pushing Manchester City, actually. But I agree with you. Something is not right with it.
If they bought Harry Kane over Man City, I would say yes, it's more of a consideration.
But we had that discussion before, and we said if Kane did go to United, do you think that means that they could win the league now? And I think we kind of agreed no. There's still things that are missing, like in the central midfield area.
They'd be closer, though.
Fred and McTominay, when they need to dominate and need to open the team up, is not good enough for them. I think they need a new partner for Maguire. I think these things are more important. What happens next to Manchester United? They need to make a decision what's happening with the goalkeepers as well, because one of them's going to go, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. And Wolves, problems. They have a few issues.
There've been a lot of issues. I think the way it's been handled with Nuno over the last couple of days has been quite nice. I think Wolves fans are extremely grateful to his performances for them. It has been a shit season for him, but part of that is because that man lifted the expectations of the football club so highly with back-to-back 7th finishes. And I think we're all pretty disappointed with Wolves this season. I think the break is probably the right thing for all parties. It looks like Nuno's been struggling a little bit with off-field stuff a little bit this season, missing family members and whatnots. So it does look like it really has been a mutual agreement kind of decision. But I think such was the respect from him. If Wolves turned around to him and said, we want to sack you, we're happy to put this out as a mutual consent, whatever, it's your call. I mean, I know Mourinho would have taken the money, wouldn't he? That's the good news for Wolves, is that Mendes has got his dirty fingers so involved with Wolves that Mourinho has already gone to Roma. That's the best news I can give Wolves fans.
Yeah. It'd be a tough sum. But the thing is, the players that they've been buying and the squad they've been building, There's been young players, a lot of Portuguese talent in there. I still think they've got a lot of talent within that squad. A lot of good young players, like Fabio Silva and so on and so on.
I think a lot of that squad needs overhauling. A lot. There's a lot of players there who have dipped massively this year, defensively and in midfield. Obviously, look, get sort of Jimenez, Neto and Podence on the pitch together with Traore. That's quite an exciting front four if they can get there. The rest of the team, not happy with it. But missing Jimenez has obviously been a huge blow to them. It's impacted the way they counter-attack so badly. And Neto was good. Podence can't get himself fit for more than like a couple of weeks in a row. But yeah, if they can get them all fit, then obviously that's a decent attacking side again. But I think defensively and midfield, they need reinforcements. They need new players. I mean, if the appointment's wrong, they could be in big trouble next year.
Yeah. Cool. Shall we do some Twitter questions, James?
Let's do that, sweetheart.
Before we do, while I look at these, do you mind giving everybody a rundown of what they've got to look forward to the rest of this week? They might not know, thinking that there's no football, that the content might dry up. It's not about to.
No, not at all. People's poll tomorrow. Vote will be out by the time you listen to this. No, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we'll have some fun with it. Wednesday, Sky Fantasy Football, the game that I'm actually not too bad at. Thursday, Ask James returns. Don't know what time yet. Friday, Clash of the Correspondents Champions League final. Rotation FPL and FPL previewing Saturday's Champions League final between Chelsea and Man City. Our Patreon podcast this week, Q&A today. Tottenham tomorrow. Wednesday, a special on Pep Guardiola's backstory. Look more at actually his playing career. Thursday, quiz. Friday, weekend preview, including a look at those that are in the playoff finals in the EFL this year.
Okie dokie. So let's look at some of these questions, James. Some, I think we're talking about our people's poll tomorrow, maybe a review of the season, a little bit like some awards and stuff. Some of these questions are going to fall quite nicely into that. So maybe we don't look necessarily at those, but there are a few that are not. FPL Wilson, best replacement of Roy, in your opinion, for Crystal Palace? Two names that probably I've heard bandied about most are Frank and Eddie Howe.
I think Eddie Howe would be a good appointment for Crystal Palace, but I think he's going to go to Celtic. I keep saying that.
Still in the pipeline, is that?
Yeah, I think so. I can see it being Lampard. I've always kind of seen that possibility. I think Chris Wilder would maybe be an interesting name. But I think there's every chance he might be going to West Brom, actually, Chris Wilder. I think Howe, if he was still available, Lampard could go one or two ways. He might be good, he might be bad.
I think Lampard wouldn't be a bad shout. I think so. But then there's not a lot of young talent coming through there. I'd always see myself and Lampard with a club with younger players.
Problem is they're stuck in an idea, I think, because of what happened with Frank de Boer, that they feel like they have to have a British manager because one went wrong. I don't necessarily think it should be like that, but I think culturally that seems to be what they've decided at Palace. So they are probably going to appoint a British manager.
Okay. We've got a question here from FPL Oakwell. What was the best and worst game week rank you achieved during the season? I've got mine up in front of me here.
You go first then.
So my best rank was 61,508, and that was game week 25. I managed to get 95 points that week. Dallas scored a 17-pointer. Rashford, Fernandez, both 12, and Bamford, captain, got me 16 points that week. So 95 points. That gave me a massive 61k game week.
Worst game week of the season was game week 7. I had a game week rank of 7,087,000. And my two best were in consecutive weeks that took me from 1.1 million to 346k, basically where I've finished. 53k finish in game week 18, which was blank, free hit. And then game week 19, 135 points, 46k game week rank. Those were the best two.
46k, decent. I had a game week rank of 6.2 million, James, which is not as bad as your worst game week rank, but that will be the infamous free hit that never was, the ghost free hit when I never played it. Cost
you 50 quid that, so yeah.
I managed to get 6 players on the pitch for a massive 17 points that week. I don't even know what did you score this week? How many points was there between us?
I got 49 this week. That week I free hitted was 62.
Yeah. Right.
You got 17. So what's the difference in that? 45 points.
Yeah, I mean the difference.
How many points between us?
49 actually.
Basically cost you, didn't it?
49 points.
If you hadn't fucking fallen asleep in your chair and captain Mane this week as well, there's just
it would have closed the gap. I look at it like anything less than 38 points, which it sounds stupid to say, look, that less than 38 points, but that's a point a game week. That's the difference between an offside goal and a not, a stupid VAR and a not, a point a game week. It's a midfielder getting a clean sheet point or not. So, I mean, it just goes to show how very, very tight it is. I look at West Ham this season. We're 1 point behind Leicester, and Leicester have had a great season. 1 point, 2 points behind Chelsea. And then you start looking back through your season and what was the game that we should have won that we threw away that would have got us Champions League and stuff. You can't really look at it like that because everybody has games like that throughout the season, but it does show that it's such, when you get to the end of it, such fine margins that make a difference.
If we'd have beat Leeds and Villa, we'd have finished top 4.
I mean,
fucking stupid is that?
Everybody's got
exactly
these kind of stories when you get towards the end of the season. But yeah, one thing I would add, James, not just getting away from the questions, to see teams playing in front of fans yesterday, especially the West Ham fans, and knowing it actually hurt a little bit because as a season ticket holder, thinking, you know what, I should be there. In any normal circumstances, I would be there. And the atmosphere just looked so good, not just ours, but on the other grounds as well. And there was 50% of me that was really glad to be able to see fans there and people playing in front of the crowds. And there was 50% of me that was just like, why can't I be there today? Disappointment, to be honest with you. But it was nice to see.
He's such a difference to the spectacle.
Massive. So yeah.
They'll still take fans for fucking granted, but it makes such a difference to the spectacle.
Alan Holohan, if Harry does leave in the summer, James, who do you realistically think would be top of Spurs' shopping list? And we talked about
Danny Ings, honestly, yeah.
But is he top of the shopping list?
I don't think Tottenham are going to be suddenly going, oh, we've got the money to buy Haaland. It's not going to happen, is it? So I don't see Tottenham spending north of sort of 40 million or so on a forward, personally. I genuinely think it'd be Danny Ings. I mean, if Kane did end up at Chelsea, I'm sure Tammy Abraham would probably go the other way, for example. I don't see Tottenham having the money to go mental this summer. So I think someone like Danny Ings, proven in the league, is fine in the short term for the next 2 years or so.
FPL Chancer, Dan, one of our regular question askers. Dan, hope you're doing well. You know he's one of your Spurs compadre, James. How conflicted were you about Spurs finishing 7th? I genuinely felt relieved when it looked like Arsenal were taking this Europa Conference Cup League spot.
No, I wanted to be in it.
You'd rather be in it than not, right?
Listen, stop taking the piss out of my team, right? Listen, we are the first team from England ever to qualify for the UEFA Conference League, all right? Don't take the piss. No one else has ever done it.
No. The interesting thing for us with the Europa League is we don't have to play the pre-qualifying crap that you had to go through to get to the group stages. I think we're straight into the group stages because of the coefficients and all the rest of it. I'm pretty sure that's how it works this year.
I think they've I think they've redone it so you don't have to do all that anymore. You'll go straight in, I believe so.
Yeah.
No, I'm pleased that Tottenham are in it. Pleased. I think one thing, and I don't know the information yet, but think back to that kind of the Champions League reform pod we did before the Super League and all that, and we spoke about the importance of like coefficient points and stuff.
Yeah, get in it and just do your best. And this is not even me having a dig, but if you lose Kane or Son or any of these big players, getting into Europe next season through the league is going to be really difficult because teams are going to get better and it's going to be very competitive at the top. So there's no guarantee you're going to get back in the Europa League next season or Champions League from the league. Go and try and win this competition that you're in.
Yeah, no, there's a great chance of that. Definitely. You just treat the group stages, don't give a fuck. No one from the first team plays in the group stage as far as I'm concerned. unless it's to build fitness. And then once you get to the knockouts, you assess where you are and go from there. There's going to be some very weak teams in that competition. There are a couple of strong ones. Mourinho's Roma, he's in there. It's already fated, isn't it? He's going to beat us. I'm going to be in Albania next summer, and Mourinho's going to kill it for us. It's fucking obvious, absolutely fated. They're probably the strongest name that's going to be in it is Roma. So it's a competition that's realistic to try and go and win it. And if that gets the monkey off the back and wins a trophy, I'll fucking take that right now, mate.
Yeah, I think you should. I really do. And shout out to Sham, FPL 2 Guys 1 Cup and FPL Happy Hour, because you know he's a fellow hammer and he's straight into the DMs with me, mate. He sent me already dates for every single group game in the Europa League this morning. So he's planned that out 16th September, 30th September, 21st October, all the way through to December. And he's probably already started booking flights just to every single destination where there could be a club in it. Doesn't know who we're playing, but we're ready to go. Sham, I won't be far behind. I did message my missus probably about 70 minutes into the game. We're winning 2-0. It means West Ham are going to be in Europe. She replied back to me.
I messaged the missus that I live with.
Yeah. No, I watched the game at the office on the big screen to get out of the house, mate. And she said, what does that mean? I said, well, West Ham are going to be in Europe. I've got to go to some away games. She just replied back, TV. That was all she said to me. It was TV. Yeah, I think she was just saying, nah, shut up, you're watching it on TV. FPL Notebook John says, people always try to put Pep down by asking how he'd get on if he was suddenly the Sheffield United manager. So seriously, how would he get on?
Sheffield United will get promoted.
Yeah.
Instantly. I mean, is he going to make Sheffield United champions of England in the Premier League? No, probably not. But yeah, the man would do well. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, not even. And it's so much down to his man management skills.
Like if Tottenham appointed Guardiola, I think we could win the league in the next few years. Like if that's where you're at.
Agree with you on that. And I don't think you'd have the best squad, but I think you'd get the most out of that squad and squeeze every last bit of juice in it. I just look at him and the way the players love the guy, and he's got to manage one of the most difficult squads to manage in terms of rotation, keeping players happy, them not getting minutes when they're at the most elite level. I mean, that's really, really difficult. And these guys will run through brick walls for that guy. I just look at him and Klopp together and their man management skills. You just look at the way that the players love him. Like, I'd fucking run through a brick wall for Pep, and I don't even, he's not my manager or anything. He just looks like that guy that would do the same in exchange for his team. So I think Pep would do well wherever he was. Any team that he was managing would punch above their weight because of the team spirit and unity and work rate that would come with it. So yeah, they would be European challengers, Sheffield United, with the current squad.
I don't know about that. I think with respect to them,
7th, 8th, they could get up there.
Well, they don't have a goal scorer. Chris Wilder got them to that, didn't he? So, of course they could.
I think they could. The big problem is no goal scorer, so that would be a challenge. But,
The problem's taking it further without the resources. That's the reality. That's what will always get thrown at Guardiola. He's got the resources, hasn't he? And that's fairly obvious. And it does absolutely help. But I don't think there's a doubt that he could manage anybody and would do quite well. In scalability, no one's saying he'd make Sheffield United Premier League champions, but he would probably be able to convert them into a top half team.
Yep. Good. And let's leave the last question of the show, James, to William Kai Manu, who says, aside from the Euros, OBS, what are you really looking forward to most this summer before FPL launches again, James? What are you looking forward to this summer, mate?
I have no idea. No idea, because I'm still drunk from Saturday.
Yeah, I was going to say, shall I ask you where the hangover's gone?
Unbelievable, mate. What am I looking forward to? This better weather, being able to go outdoors.
Yeah, I think we've got 16 days of a heat wave hitting London very soon.
Okay, cool. That beer in the garden, maybe things that wouldn't be happening at the moment. Then beers were meant to be in the garden at the weekend, but it was fucking weather's been too shit. So I had to go and spend I ended up in one pub, and obviously it's all you get charged at the end, right? 140 fucking quid I paid for a tab. I was only in a pub 2 hours.
What
the fuck did we drink?
Oh, mate. That's a perfect way to plug patreon.com/Planet FPL, where all the hard-earned 3s, 8s, and £14 go to James's bar tabs that he doesn't even remember what he drank. To be honest with you, James, I'm really looking forward to London this summer, especially with the warm weather. I feel like, this is such a great buzzing city. And prior to lockdown and stuff, most weekends with the kids, we'd get down into town and see a museum like Science Museum or History Museum, grab some lunch, go out for dinner or drink, just to see London as a city. And I don't feel like I've had any energy from London for ages. So with the good weather, I'm looking forward to just spending some time in London and rediscovering the city, especially on the 24th of July. Where I won't be discovering a lot of the city, but one particular pub I'll definitely be discovering.
Yeah, Editor's Tap in London. We're organising a meet-up with Who Got the Assist and FPL Surgery. Everyone welcome. Come and have a beer, FPL community together. The only thing you'll have to do is sign into the pub on the NHS app. That's it.
Literally.
Just rock up.
Yep. And there's going to be plenty of stuff that we'll push around the meet-up beforehand as we get closer to the time and we know that Boris hasn't had to change the rules or anything like that. But 24th of July, stick it in your diary. And the one thing I would say about it is, if you're sitting there listening to the show thinking, I don't really want to go on my own, or I don't know anyone, or it's all going to be a bit awkward or whatever, it is not. Anybody that's thinking like that, DM James, DM me, we'll look after you on the day.
Love that. But DM James.
Yeah. I'm not the best on Twitter DMs, but MySpace is the place for me if you're still on MySpace, where I'm posting my Pablo Fornals tips. But because we've had it before where people will come, they don't know each other, not just at our events, at Who Got the Assist meetups before as well. Remember, it's a joint event with those boys and the surgery boys as well. And you'll get to meet people, make friends. You'll be able to put faces to some of these Twitter profiles that you interact with. So if you're sitting there thinking, I want to go, but I'm too worried about going on my own, make sure you do make the effort to come down because you won't regret it.
No, absolutely concur with that. Our experience from the live shows we've done on that is that anybody who comes on their own doesn't regret it afterwards. You will get looked after. I can absolutely guarantee that. But those of you who are tapping out for the season, our content is not stopping. We've got plenty more coming through for you, including a kind of a review of mine and Suj's season. We've got a few ideas for things we want to do. We're going to be podding during the Euros. We'll be playing the official Euro fantasy game. Before you know it, the new game will be up and we'll be into season 5 of Planet FPL.
Indeed, we will. Season 5, eh?
Yeah, mate.
Wow.
Unless you sack me, then I intend to carry on, mate.
No. Season 5 all the way. So yeah, that will be that, James. I did plug Patreon a little bit earlier, but to be honest with you, the money doesn't go to James's bar tab, so you can sign up. If you sign up, I don't see Patreon, none of it. If you sign up to Patreon in the next week before the end of May, don't forget June and July are completely free. So you get a chance to come and experience the community on Slack, interact with us, see the additional podcasts that we've put out for the next couple of months as well, which include a bunch of preview stuff once the game reopens and that kind of thing. So do have a think about whether you want to stay signed up or join our Patreon because it will be free in June and July and it's a good chance to come and try.
Yeah, what Suj doesn't know is he's now got to pay out about £1,000 in mini league prices.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Congratulations if you are one of those mini league winners. We'll give all of the Patreon mini league winners a shout out on the Patreon pod today, which is your Q&A. If you made it this far, you're a patron. Head over to the Slack. Ask us a question.
I can tell you the advanced tier Patreon winner is Callum Mates.
Nice one, Callum.
Smashed it. I think he ended up finishing about 3K. And you'll know the intermediate tier winner as well, mate. He's meant to be good at Sky, but he's better at FPL. Paul Jones, mate.
Oh, did he?
Sky
well
player
done.
in FPL won the intermediate. So,
nice.
Yeah, Callum's got 350 quid coming his way. Paul's got 175 or something similar.
Nice one, Paul. That'll buy some Aptamil or some fucking nappies because he had a little one this year, didn't he? So we know where his money's going.
Should you want me to cover it with the money I won in Sky this year? Because I could do.
Let's do it and tell everybody, so because then they've got a reason to end the podcast in anger.
Love it, Jimmy. Just kill it there.
Yeah, no, we'll do that on Wednesday in the Sky podcast.
All right, cool.
Thank you for joining us at the end of season wrap up. Do make sure you're subscribed, whether you're listening to the podcast. We'll be back at you tomorrow with more People's Poll content. Stay safe. James is going to cure his hangover. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. You made it to the end. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man child.